Red. Good evening. The Red Bank Historical Preservation Commission will hold a regular meeting on Wednesday, May 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m. at 90 Monmouth Street, Red Bank, New Jersey. Adequate notice of this meeting has been posted at Borough Hall, filed with the Borough Clerk, and provided to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times. The Commission has maintained a policy cutoff hour of 8:30 p.m. for its hearings. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. May we have a roll call?
Louis Almarini,
Present.
Marjorie Cavalier,
Present.
William Collins,
Present.
Paul Cagno,
Here.
Karen Schmelkov, absent, Anthony Sotero,
Present.
and Betsy Valera. Present.
I'll leave all public comments to the end of the meeting. Administrative matters, the meeting minutes. I take it everyone has received a draft of the minutes of the meeting of April 16th. Anyone move to a comment side or anyone move to approve them?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving to reports. First, the Minor Works Committee.
Okay, so the Minor Works Committee met, and we discussed, this was via email. This application was reviewed as for 6 Monmouth Street. It's for the installation of a non-illuminated sign for a new business. The committee found that the sign was adequate, and it was for a wall sign and for window signs. And so they found that there were no issues and the application was approved.
So the address on that was?
6 Monmouth Street.
6 Monmouth Street.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah, 6 Monmouth Street.
So what is there now, or is this where C'est La Vie was?
Yes, I believe so. I think it is where C'est La Vie was.
Okay, there's currently a box sign hanging in front of that building. Oh, sorry. There's currently a box sign hanging in front of that building. That building used to be,
It's not 6. 6 is the corner.
6 is the corner?
6 is the corner.
On Monmouth Street.
Yeah.
So
Is this sign?
It's where the whip,
Or whipped was?
yes, whip,
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and the sign is flat against the building
yes,
and non-lighted?
yes.
Okay,
Did they remove the lights that were above?
No, they're keeping that.
Okay.
So they're not changing lighting, they're just.
No, they're just swapping out the
Okay.
sign
Swapping out the sign.
and putting in window signs, which is,
What's the business? What is it?
it's called, oh man, I need to catch up on my French. Bouge Fair?
What are the letters?
French candles, sells French candles. What is this? BOUGIEFIRE. Bouge Fair. Bouge Fair?
And what are the colors of it?
So it looks to be black letters
Well,
with a white panel.
White
board.
back?
although we're looking at a black and white.
Yeah.
And the rest of the buildings, is the rest of the building still black?
Oh, here.
It's tossed? Was there?
It's called
It's
photo.
colored, I'm sorry. So it's going to be a brush mid, anodized bronze, metal color. That's the lettering. And then the background is white, the back of
Okay.
it's white. They're not touching the brick facade. They're not doing anything to that. They're keeping the lights and not touching the facade at all. It's just swapping out the signage.
Cool. Yes, thank you.
I just want to mention that Karen is present. She's on Zoom.
Oh, she is. Okay.
Ah. Can she communicate with us?
Oh.
Karen, can you say present over there?
No, I have to switch her out. I have to allow her to be a panel member.
She can say it.
Oh.
Second, I'm just switching her to be a panel.
Mute. Start.
Okay.
Oh, there she is.
Okay, hi, there I am.
Hi,
All right, so Karen is present.
so shall we move to the River Center liaison report? Karen?
Yes, the only thing with the building, Shauna, I actually did not look up the address, but on Monmouth Street, they're taking out a fire escape and a doorway and putting in new windows. And the River Center agreed with that. And as Shauna had told them, didn't come before us, but it is something visual.
So it's not on the list. They were not on the.
The element list?
No, they're not.
What number? Sorry, what number?
They are,
It's not the same building, it's not 6, that same building, is it?
No,
I want to say it is 6 on the side. They have a fire escape.
Yeah, they have a big.
yeah,
fire
the
escape.
fire.
Yeah, they're taking that down and they're removing the doors. They're removing the doors and that led to the fire escape.
This fire escape
Yeah.
there
Yes,
Right.
yes,
on the corner.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're removing that and just putting in windows.
What, do they have an alternative egress, I guess? I'm assuming that's not functional or,
But they did, I'm not sure why they
No.
decided to do that.
okay.
I just,
We just buildings okay with it, I'm guessing?
well, the building department would, if it's a code issue, they would catch that.
Oh, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's building.
This is already
Yeah.
that's already gone through.
Yeah,
Right.
building code, so I don't get involved with.
Yeah,
building
that's cool.
code, yeah.
The
Okay.
River.
What's up there now? Do they?
They're doing in apartments.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes, okay. And then does that door becomes a window or
Yeah, that's
it
gonna
just
be
gets
a window.
bricked?
Yeah, it becomes a window, and also River Center is pushing to get a nicer set of windows. So we're hoping that that'll happen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that would be a big improvement. That's been a big eyesore for the downtown for a very long time, that corner, so that would be really nice.
Yep.
And River Center's done a good job of cleaning up that corner, so it's nice to see above your head would feel a lot safer as well, so that's nice.
Could you repeat the address of that building?
It's still 6 Monmouth.
6 months.
Yeah.
This is all right above where that sign is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, the thing, it's like, hey, why am I gonna spend money, put a new sign here, and there's still stuff falling on it,
okay.
there's no
Understood.
fire escape.
Got
That's kind of seems to be the reasoning.
Anything else to report on the River Center?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Moving next to the Historic Site Design Guidelines Committee.
Okay, we did meet, all the people on it were present, Karen, Anthony, and also Maren, the director of the River Center, and myself with Stephen. So I just want to say that all future meetings will be in that conference room. It was made available to us, and so we don't have to worry about not having access because so many people use the conference rooms here. So we basically all contributed in a survey before we attended. And some of the things that Stephen presented us with as a result of the survey was the top concerns are overdevelopment and consistent signage, which I guess we're talking about tonight, because one of the things that Red Bank has been designated Main Street City. And one of that is consistent signage. And so one of the things that she mentioned, and I suggested that she talk to Christina about that the signage ordinance in Red Bank should be updated. Because right now, she doesn't really have the authority to suggest that things like box signage, lighted signage, certain colors, she doesn't really, she just tried to suggest. So since we're going through this process with design guidelines, signage is one of the things that really unites a community. So that's one of the things that came out of that meeting as well. And a need for support for the local businesses. That's another thing that Maren mentioned. So my impression, and again, Anthony or Karen can chime in here, is that I think it was a very good start for the next meeting we're gonna have. And this information, this minutes is on the portal, yes?
Yes,
Shauna?
yes, it is.
So it should all be on your portal to look at. So our next meeting is May 30th. I did give Stephen some resources about Red Bank. And it looks like the survey, and we'll get some more input on that. The survey of historic properties will probably start in June or July, but it seems to me anyway that it was a good start. So I don't know if Anthony or Karen. Anthony, did you want to add anything, or Karen?
My only, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I thought it was a really, really important meeting. The only concern I have is that he showed us his website where he has everything, and I didn't get the URL, which I think all of us could use. And also I didn't see the results of the survey that the four of us took. And I would have liked to have seen that, because it seemed to be give a good perspective on what our group and individually we're going into. So I don't know if you have the URL, Maureen, and also know where the survey.
I mean, you're free to reach out to him personally. He did give us his contact information.
Yeah, I thought about doing so. I will do that.
I mean, I don't think that everything has to funnel through one person.
Sure.
Communication can be back and forth freely.
Yeah, I feel really confident in what we're going to get. He's going to be very in-depth. I think we're going to gain a lot from his expertise. My only thing would be that, there is so much that we can't do everything, and we have to all be cognizant of that. This is a starting point. And
Right.
I'm starting to have that realization because we all want it all right off the bat, and we want to designate every single property that we have on the list, and we want an in-depth report of everything. And that's where we all want it to be, and we just can't do it all in the very first try. So
Right.
we have to get the important things in there, and we have to come up with guidelines, because that's really the product that we need to move forward and have some teeth, with anything happening.
So, yeah, and then again, the conversation also circled at one point to the project that Shauna was talking to us about the last meeting, to put a metal sign on some properties with a QR code
Right.
that people could just kind of pull up the history or even hear about the history. And he thought that it would be better to start with business properties there, because they would be closer to the public domain. Like if you have a century plus house, where are you gonna?
I'll knock you off here.
Oh, sorry. So if people don't necessarily want people coming up on the side of their house to do the QR code. So he did say that the properties that he would be doing an intensive survey on may very well turn out to be the properties that could have that signage and the QR code, so they would most likely be businesses. Am I remembering that correctly?
You are, and I think it segues into the other piece of this that you were talking about, which is telling the story somewhat. We all have talked about of the town, and some of that is filtered through the lens of the story of the Eisner factory and its influence on the town, and certainly a lot of those historical
Mhm.
markers like you're talking about are in that area. They're just naturally
Right.
there when you tell the story and you go downtown and look at the businesses and, all the different business.
Oh, sorry, I think
That's
I,
okay, from the
I think I
higher
said you-
buildings in the town, in the downtown area as well.
yeah.
And then we talked a little bit about the music or the arts or, different, other influential people that might have been here. But I think certainly when he's naturally going through the story of the town, you're going to find like the docks or the pier or the whatever, they're in public spaces, right?
Mhm.
So you're going to be at the train station, or you're going to be at the factory, or it's going to naturally fall to one of those places. Even Count Basie Field, like we had a semi-pro baseball team at one point over there. So there's a lot of these public spaces that will naturally fall into play, I think, to start.
Right, and so that's one of the reasons why I gave him all of the resources that I have, that, we don't necessarily have to have our design guidelines look like Hoboken's or Cape May's or, Glen Ridge. But the emphasis now with historic preservation is to tell a story, and so perhaps the first 2 or 3 pages of our design guidelines will present people who are purchasing those guidelines with the story of the town. So that's like one of the things that we asked him to focus on as well.
Yeah, when you have a certain, owner build a style of house, there's a story that's told. Why did that owner build this style of house at this time, in this time period? And then that's the design architecture that we want to keep in the town, right? So, yeah, exactly. It tells the story, and we have a connected fiber.
I just had a question about the framework for the guidelines. So last week I was in the Monmouth County Library and I came across the Monmouth County historic inventory list that has maps from 1982, and it designated the Washington Street area, Broad Street area, but also Maple Avenue in this map. And so I thought that was an interesting map I'd never seen before.
Mm.
Will the consultant, I'm sorry, I forget his name.
Stephen Smallin.
Will he take into consideration the New Jersey state designation,
Yeah.
county designations, as well as the town designations when he's looking at that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're supplying him with that stuff, and he's double checking and referencing the national database and all of that stuff. But that is interesting. Was Maple Ave lifted at one point when it became commercialized? Does anyone know the history of?
I don't know. I just know that it does have a lot of, big Victorian homes. So at some point, the county had designated Maple Avenue as
The entire Maple Avenue?
up until I'm trying to find
One of the original where, not necessarily estates, but those were where all the bigger homes were at first, going down to, the end Maple, where Maple Cove was.
the map I saw went from West Front Street all the way up to at least Irving Place.
Yeah, because those were all big homes that now are all commercial. I mean, and people have done renovations, and it still has a similar feel like it always did, but.
It's a reference document in the Monmouth County Library in Shrewsbury, so maybe Stephen should be made aware of that document.
Could we actually get the source so we can locate it ourselves, or maybe make a copy of it? At the Shrewsbury.
I did take pictures of the
Oh.
pages. I can send them around to everyone.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's it for the
Good points. Mhm.
good report there. Thank you. Moving on to only old business item on The agenda is the library presentation.
Okay, so I did reach out to the person who schedules the library. And I mentioned a couple of dates in November, and she said we're doing it far enough out that, you know, we could pretty much guarantee it. I know that Michelle said that if we were gonna have a Q&A there, we can't have more than 3 people from the commission interfacing with the public. So at some point, we just have to find out if there's 3, at least 2, I guess, who would be available at these November dates. And then we could book it. So I don't know how to, is it too early to look at people's schedules for November?
What are the dates?
Let me just try and get the. Barbara, I was talking with Barbara Pickle, so I know that Liam's dealt with her in the past. Let's see. Yeah, sorry, I just got back into town. Oh, here it is. Okay, November 13th, which is a Thursday, or November 18th, which is a Tuesday. People want to look at their schedules. I don't know if people, if they're aware they're going to be out of town. It was, the reason I picked the dates were obviously to avoid, election week or, that kind of thing. So if people want to think about it, look at their calendars, talk to important people in their lives, and then maybe get back to
During
me.
what hour of the day?
This would be in the evening. It would be
Okay.
like, just like an hour, 6:30 to 7:30, and we would publicize it. Maybe Stephen would be available, I don't know, or, Zoom it or something, we talked about reaching out to the public to just have a casual conversation and talk to people about explaining our purpose or have people come to us and.
Now, do we have an existing presentation that was given in the past that's gonna be updated, or we?
That would be something that we can talk about, but I think when we were talking about this in the past, it would just be not necessarily a meet and greet, but just kind of like open it up if the public has questions about our purpose and how we do things, and maybe they're considering doing something with their home or their business, and just coming in and having a conversation, just looking at it as a conversation, just to try to see how it could work. So again, the dates that, so if you get back to me, if you think that you'd be interested in participating, November 13th or November 18th.
Okay.
So we have time. She thinks I'm a little too ambitious in contacting her this early, but on people's.
Why not?
All right, thank you.
Very good. Moving on to new business. Maybe we'll start with 53 Spring Street. I'll read briefly a description of what is sought here. 53 Spring Street, Block 22, Lot 14, proposed second floor addition over existing one-story section of the residence. Existing roof and siding to be replaced with similar. Addition will be constructed to match the existing style of the house, including vinyl cedar shake or horizontal lap siding, asphalt roof shingles with metal roof accent on the south dormer, white trim wood or PVC wood trim, and white vinyl windows.
Did you see it?
Could you
Yeah.
say your name?
Yeah, hey, I'm Anthony Carterucci. My wife and I are the owners of 53 Spring Street. We've been living there since 2020. We have twin 3-year-olds and they,
Sorry, stop.
okay, sorry about that.
That's fine.
You don't think it existed? For that?
In 1870.
I don't think.
There we go.
Much better.
All right, let me try that again. Hey guys, I'm Anthony Carterucci. My wife and I own 53 Spring Street. We bought the house in 2020. We had 23-year-olds and another one on the way, and it's a 2-bedroom house. And so the plan is to expand it from a 2-bedroom house to a 3-bedroom house. The east side of the house, which is the back side of the house, that also has frontage on Oldfield Place, is just a 1-story extension. It was probably an addition in the 60s, we think. And what we want to do is extend the A-frame roof, which is the 2nd story of the house on the west side of the house, to the back of the house. And it'll just be an additional bedroom. And there's going to be, the plan is for it to be a kind of a shed dormer off the south side over the driveway there. And also dormer it on the north side just to expand the vertical headspace in there. The roof on our house is like 30 years old. The sidings probably dates back to the 60s. And so, with this addition, the plan is to replace the roof and the siding as well. But we generally want to keep it with the same style that it has, kind of the cedar shingle look, especially on the south, the sides of the house that have frontage along Oakfield and Spring, which would be the south and the west sides of the house. And then it would likely be horizontal lap siding on the east side of the house and the north side of the house. I think that's pretty much it. I would like to put kind of off the shed dormer on the south side of the house. The intent is to put kind of a standing seam metal just off the shed dormer roof there. It's gonna be white windows to match the existing white trim that will, look like wood. And then the roof is basically just gonna be asphalt shingle roof, most likely darker slate gray color. And the plan is for the siding to be kind of a light gray green.
The current siding, it's hard to tell from the pictures what the material is. Is it cedar?
It is cedar.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see the lower portion of the house currently has kind of a larger cedar shingle. And the upper story has a smaller cedar shingle, kind of mismatched as it is. The vinyl cedar impressions shingle that we are would be match that shorter, the smaller shingle that's on.
Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's that old now.
Shauna, is this, does the applicant also have to go to zoning?
The process is still reviewing the application, but this would trigger because of the expansion. I have to check your lot size to see. One of the things is that, in our ordinance, it states that if you are expanding a non-conforming structure on a lot that doesn't meet the minimum standards for a lot area, you would have to go before the zoning board for expansion of a non-conforming structure. So I'm still reviewing it, but that's why I wanted you to come before the commission first to get your recommendation by the commission, and then we'll talk about the zoning board procedure.
Yeah, I think you and I discussed it a little bit.
Yeah, I briefly, yeah.
You said it was on a full lot.
Okay, so I just have to go through the ordinance just a little bit more.
Yeah, I didn't mention this.
I briefly went through it, just, I wanted you to get your historic review out of the way first.
Okay, and one thing I didn't mention is that it's not an expansion of the footprint of the house at all, it's just going up.
Yeah, but once you expand, even though you're not expanding the footprint, once you expand up, any type of expansion for making it a habitable area may trigger something, because you're on a corner lot, it's kind of a thing.
Understood.
Can I call you Anthony?
Sure.
So I'm looking at the picture of your house. So the roof line, I mean, can you explain to me, would this peak extend this way? Would it just be like,
Yeah, so that is the Spring Street frontage of that house.
Right.
Yeah,
There's some photos in there that show the Oakfield Street frontage. And we wouldn't be extending on that. If you keep going to the next page.
Page 15.
On the back.
Let's see.
I'm just, I mean, I'm more concerned with the,
This is the best.
That's right.
So basically, you would extend the roof. You see this in the
Right.
back, that's a low roof.
right,
And actually, look, it isn't even centered, the peak of it. It's an addition.
okay,
So he would put a second story on that and the roof line would match up to the more
okay,
sloped roof, which probably is the original house,
That's right.
the steeper roof.
That's right.
okay. And so you're not doing anything with the flat roof while you're doing construction on the old field side?
Are you talking about the flat roof
Yeah.
along the street?
Yes,
That's right. You really wouldn't see anything from the Spring Street side of the house. And that flat roof that is on the southwestern corner.
right, that's not changing, that's not changing. So you don't get water in that flat roof like that?
It pools a little bit, but nothing inside, thank God.
Yeah, okay, I was just gonna say, if you're gonna be starting a construction site or something that, maybe do that too, but I'm not a contractor, I just wanted to be clear on what I was thinking about, okay.
And actually, that's why it triggered the need for him to come, because you can see it on the old field. If he was to build up, do the addition, and looking from just the different views, you would see the addition.
From Oakfield,
And
that's.
there's like the way how the houses are set back from each other, you can clearly see the new addition.
Yeah, and that's
So,
a cute little street.
yes, yes.
I know the tax records show that the house was built in 1945.
Well,
Or-
the element lists it as 1945, but Liam seems to think it was on an earlier map.
Yeah, you're on an 1873 map, the original part of your house with the peaked roof. Yeah, so it's more than 150 years old.
That's interesting. I'd like to see that back. I do think that there's definitely some different additions that I can tell in the basement specifically. For the brick wall that was knocked out. That makes sense. Probably a small portion, one bedroom, one bath.
Probably, yeah. Okay,
It's always talk about non-conforming little house. It's always been a house. My babysitter growing up was down the street on Spring Street and we always used to walk into town, walking past it. And it always stuck out as like this, so it is kind of cool. You're not changing that view on Spring Street because it's always been this little quirky looking house. But yeah, I was very curious too, just looking at the style and the peak of that roof. It looks like what would have been the original house would have been much older than 1940.
45.
Yeah, I mean, just the style of it and size of it and everything, I could definitely see where it was. Yeah, just a little shack of whatever on, Throckmorton's estate or whatever somewhere just sitting there.
Yeah, it was definitely there before Oldfield Place was even a street.
100, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was actually the entryway to the Throckmorton estate. So before Oldfield Place was there, Oldfield Place was owned by the Weiss family, who were married into the Eisner family. But they bought that from the Throckmortons, and the Throckmorton driveway went all the way from the corner where your house is there in Oldfield, back up through William Street to Throckmorton, and then across River Road down to the river. That was the big long driveway, but it started right there on the corner at your house.
So
Oldfield was a driveway, so basically.
Just the very beginning of it. It was just a.
The entrance
few-
way.
Entrance, but it might have been like the gatekeeper, or a little.
Yeah.
It was probably something like that, a little like, where the gatekeeper or whatever of the Throckmorton estate, he might have lived right in that little house right
To announcing visitors or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
this would have been,
carriage house.
where Welsh Farms is.
Sure.
There's a little bridge there, it goes over the gully. So before that was even a road, they used that other entryway on Oldfield because that gully, required you to go over a bridge or through the water. And so Oldfield, where your houses would have been the place where the gully hadn't quite cut deep enough so they could still get across.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I do, I'm very interested in talking to Red Bank. I have all the Red Bank history books too, so, you guys are experts on it. It's interesting stuff.
So I guess,
Question on I'm looking at your application with regard to, you have a metal roof of some sort, accent roof proposed on the dormer?
Yes.
So can you just explain what exactly that material is and does it look like what you proposed here in the photograph?
Yeah, so, I think it's I want to say it's stainless steel, but it's like a kind of a matte black material. They call it standing seam roof. It's kind of a style these days. I think you see a lot of additions in Red Bank, Fairhaven. And it's just the plan for it is just to be on that shed dormer with the windows on the south side.
So what it's supposed to be where if I'm looking at not from Spring Street, from
On Oldfield.
Oldfield?
So there's that dormer that has 3 windows shown. It's probably about 12 feet wide. And it would be a standing seam metal roof. With the rest of the roof just being asphalt shingle, that's current.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, is anyone else familiar? Is there other metal roofs within the historic district? It feels to me like it's more of a contemporary kind of look. I mean, I could be mistaken. I'm not aware of any metal roof in any of the historic districts throughout town.
It's one of those, I agree, it's a trendy thing.
It's kind of a trendy thing. We've seen like this farmhouse style.
Yes.
Going up,
Mhm.
black frame windows.
There'll be white
Excellent.
frame red windows on the house, though.
What's that?
It's gonna be white frame windows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to, what I'm explaining is, we've had residents not come before us and just do the work. And it happened on Wallace Street, across from 65, where, you wake up one day and all the windows were replaced with black contemporary windows.
Mhm.
And at that point, they kind of come in and say they're sorry, but we're not, we don't have authority to tell them to rip it out. I guess we do, we could talk to the council about it, but we haven't done that. So I kind of feel like we are somewhat easy board, but to me, the metal roof would be it's the only kind in the entire district. I'd like to hear what everyone else thinks about that, but I don't consider that to be a historic feature in any respect, quite frankly. Like I said, I don't know of anything in town that within the district that has that personally.
Were 100 years ago, were those roofs even used?
well, we do have metal roofs in the ones that look, I don't even know the proper term.
Corrugated?
Yes,
It's more of a commercial shed. kind of-
Right.
I know what you're.
right. But Anthony, so why did you want to change the style of roof from the majority of the roof space to something different for that? Just,
It's just an accent roof. It's kind of a stylistic thing. It's an aesthetic.
so you just wanted to have a little something different there?
Is that that's on the Oldfield side though, or on
It's on
the,
the side.
is Oldfield in the district?
No.
So the,
I'm not sure, do we split up houses depending on if one of that, half the house is gonna be historic and half of it isn't?
well, no, my thing is, we're talking about the outside, the exterior of the house, right? And how it views from the street. And that side of the street, do we see it?
Well, if you're on Oldfield,
But Oldfield's not in the district.
I know, but the house,
By block and lot.
I know, I'm just, I'm trying to be cognizant of all sides of this. You know, I'm not saying a yay or a nay. I'm just posing another side of this is that it's not, the side that you see this on is not in the district, right? That's, I
Right.
just want to be clear on that. I understand, but like common sense, I'm just saying.
I think so.
Standing over there, you're on Oldfield, that's the only side that you'd see it on, you don't see it on Spring. I commented that I liked that he wasn't changing my funky little view from when I was a little kid on Spring. That's all my comment was. That's it.
We are on the edge of the district. That's.
Yeah, you're right in there. But I do understand your point and everyone's point. You don't split up a house by that. I get that.
And then my other question was with regard to the color. Do you paint those shingles or do they come a certain color?
The ones we're planning on putting on, they would come that color.
They will come that
I
color?
mean, you can paint them after the fact if you want to, but they come the color.
Have you checked the Benjamin Moore historic palette to see if it compares to anything similar with respect to the historical colors?
I had not. I wasn't aware that there was a Benjamin Moore historic palette. That's interesting. I'll take a look.
Yeah, I would
Try, it's
like you to take a look at it.
Benjamin Moore, but Sherman-Williams has a historic palette also, yeah. Most paint stores, they have a historic palette that you can look at.
Nice.
If you could just look up like the year that your house is built, and they'll show you like the period of that house, so what color.
Fairhaven Hardware
Mm.
sells Benjamin Moore paints, and they almost always have the historic color brochure in there. So you can just walk in and grab one of those and see.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'll check that out.
I have a question about this elevation.
Sure.
Yeah, the dormer one.
Outside.
Yeah, the south side. Two questions. One, again, on the metal roof. I noticed there's gonna be a small roof, I think, over the entrance that faces the south side, right?
So that small roof is already there. That's existing.
That's already there. And what kind of shingles are on that?
So that's actually a flat roof. And it may not be shown exactly.
Oh, it's hard to tell from this
If
perspective.
you look at the,
It's a flat roof.
right,
Okay.
if you look at the photos, that were included, you could probably see it's flat roof and it's kind of just. Basically being part of.
Okay, fine. And my other question on this particular view, you mentioned earlier, although it's not obvious when I look at the pictures, but in this picture, in this rendering, it is that there are two different shingle sizes on the house. There's a larger shingle size on the bottom and a small one on the top. Are you going to reshingle the whole house, or you're only?
That is the intent to redo the whole house, have it all match. You know, when it comes to cost, I think that's gonna be something to consider. You know, if the cost is exorbitant, we may have to keep areas that we're not touching in the renovation, right? But that is the intent to reshingle us.
So if you were putting new shingles on the addition, and then you were keeping the old ones, and the new ones come pre-colored, cast in color, are you gonna have some kind of mismatch?
Yeah, I mean, we would definitely want it to match, there's no doubt about that. So that, I mean, in that case, we would have to paint it all one color, right?
Or you could, I guess, get paint mixed to paint the old shingles to match the color of the new.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, really the intent is to reshingle the whole house in one size of shingle.
Okay.
And on that south side, it would be shingle, the west side along Spring would be shingle, and the east and the north side would likely be the lap side.
Any other questions or comments?
No, so what are we going to, what do we need to?
Need a vote. Take a vote if you need to take a vote if you accept his scope of work as presented, or if there are recommendations,
Well, I
or
think the recommendations, just to paraphrase, seem to be about uniform roofing. and a consideration of the color.
Yeah, that's fair.
When you say roof, uniform roofing, it's,
Well,
what do you
the
mean?
mention about different size shingles and stuff, that if they're gonna re-roof, that it would be uniform throughout, just, right?
Yeah, I mean, if, I personally like the addition plans. I think it's a better aesthetic after the addition than it was before the addition. Before the addition, it looks like a house with two additions on it. After this addition, it does not. Only the addition on the south side will still stand out as being an addition. The only thing, if it were my house, that I would do differently would be I would put consistent shingles throughout on the roof. That's all I would do differently.
And then a second recommendation of, for him to choose a Benjamin Moore
Well,
historic.
to consider color that would be historic, since its location on a corner. And if you look at some of the other houses in the district, the ones that do have chosen a historic color seem to unify the neighborhood as historic, as opposed to, like, I did not question when I saw on the element that it was built in 1945. There was nothing that told me that it could have been, in any of its forms, a century-plus house. So if you choose to embrace the history of your house, then it seems like you could do it with color, is all I'm saying.
I like that idea.
So,
We were planning on doing kind of like a muted green, which seems kind of like a historic color.
yeah, but I mean, you could,
That's what would be,
you could do accents. I'm not a designer, but I'm just saying that as you walk down the street, the ones that are not stark, look modern. It extends the view.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to keep with the historic nature of the neighborhood. And the metal accent roof is not a deal breaker, so if we don't, you guys don't like that, we want to do that.
It's up to you, and it actually may be cheaper, but,
Yeah.
but thank you for coming, Anthony.
Well, I have just a couple more points.
Oh,
So
okay.
and I want to say, I love the addition on the house. And the cedar impressions, I think, are riddled throughout the historic district. We've been approving those. For me, my only, my recommendation, and you don't have, it's just my recommendation. I do think the metal roof is something that would be an introduction, something new into the district, which I don't think I would love to see riddled kind of scattered around the entire district. If you did it and then everyone else, all of a sudden, it kind of changes the character of the neighborhood for me. I do like the addition. So my preference would be nix the metal roof. Go with something close to his historic color that you can get and put the addition on. That's my recommendation for it. So I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at.
I agree.
I mean, it's a recommendation, not a requirement.
Karen is saying something?
Yes, I also agree. I think the metal roof seems a little bit too modern for the area. I walked by today and I thought, yeah,
So you're recommending to remove
To put the same
materials? yeah.
asphalt
Mhm.
shingle
Roofing
materials
material.
on the whole,
Wow.
on the
No
whole.
metal
house.
roof,
No metal roof.
so no metal. Got it.
All right, that works great.
But,
We just need another bedroom. I don't really.
20 years from now. 20 years from now, everyone will look around at the white houses,
yes.
roofs, and black windows and go,
Mhm.
oh, that was built in the 2020s.
I think that there's a certain aspect of that metal roof style that dates back to before the current trend.
Oh, of course.
In rural
Rural,
areas,
yeah,
Yeah.
rural or urban.
Vermont, where they want the snow to fall off the roof.
Farmlands.
Okay, so then you need a motion
Okay,
and then we'll do a roll call.
and second,
I think Paul did you?
Yeah, second. And Sean, I don't know, is this a type of application that we would give a written.
Yeah, so I have,
So there's no confusion when it gets. to that.
yeah, I have Michelle's template, and I'll fill that in.
Yeah, okay.
So the first motion was Liam, and then the second was Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. Louis Almarini,
Approved.
Marjorie Cavalier,
Approved?
Liam Collins.
Aye.
Paul Cagno,
Yes,
Karen Schmelzkopf,
Yes,
Anthony Sotero,
Yes.
and Betsy Valera. Okay, thank you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Guys, stay for the rest
bye-bye.
of the time.
Only if you want
You don't
to.
have to. You're welcome to.
No, you probably have to get home and help with those twins. My twins are now 37 and they still ask for my home.
Nice day.
Okay. Moving to 65 Washington Street, that's block 25, lot 16. The proposal is to fix the roof or replace it with new if it can't be fixed. Restore the siding, paint a new color, restore all the woodwork, and replace and restore the front porch and add a deck to the rear.
Hi.
Hi.
Lisa, I'm.
So can you just state your first and last name? Just bring the mic really close to you. Like you could pull it to you.
Yeah, move it, just move it. Yeah, there you go.
Lisa Adamov,
Can you spell that?
Liza Adamov.
Thank you.
The project is, we would like to restore 65 Washington. We are planning to keep all the original material. If there is any rotted wood, that will be replaced on the siding. We really wanted, I still want to keep the roof. But it looks like it's been pretty old and the slate is falling off. We have some, like we've got some that it's like really soft. So we had people coming and looking at the roof, and most likely we won't be able to restore it, to fix it. But until they start working, they can't really tell us. So we would like to to have another option, to prove another option if that one's not gonna work. To have another roof. We printed a picture of the grant. It's called Slate Line. It looks like slate, but it's not slate. But we can, put the same color, like a dark gray, which, hopefully will keep the look of the house. Looks like most of woodwork in the front is in a good condition, except some like small pieces on top. They have small like pieces of wood that's missing. So we found very, very close match. It's also on the pictures. So it's just like, I think it's like 4 pieces on the top of the porch in the front. That we want to replace with new.
This.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's almost, we couldn't find the exact match, but this is very, very close.
So, do you mind, Lisa, if I just ask you questions as you go?
Yes, of course.
So is it possible to move some of the pieces from the front and replace, kind of keep the original in the front and then on the side and put the replacements to kind of like move things around?
Absolutely, I think, absolutely.
So it's not as obvious from the sidewalk?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because they're gonna be taking it off, probably scraping it
Yeah,
and then repainting it. So you could kind of,
yeah, we can like maybe have like cut pieces.
Yeah.
cut together in the
Yeah.
front, and then on the sides.
it's like, the side where your driveway is, that would be a good place to move some of the new pieces.
That's what you want it from the front, the old loop,
Yes,
the side we can do the.
yeah, just,
Okay, yeah,
Well, can I make a comment? I'm sorry, my
Sure.
cousin Artem Adamov, Artemamov. The only, I think challenge we might have is if we start removing those pieces, if there's a potential for them to break, we don't know.
Right, no, I'm,
Oh,
your
so-
contractor, just ask the contractor, you know, so, and if they're very careful in removing it, you know, since it's gonna be easier to repair, you know, if it's taken off and then put back on, you know, because then it's easier, you know.
That
but
was
it-
to try to repair,
Yeah.
without taking it off.
Oh, well, you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Take anything apart, you know.
Yeah, I know, you don't know what you're gonna get.
Your furniture apart.
But I'm just saying that if you talk to your contractor, it could be possible. It could be possible.
I think we can do it.
All right, just, you know, just thinking out loud. Just-
Yes, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So you can see on the pictures, the front porch, really like needs a work. We have to fully, I think, rebuild it. So the floors of the porch and the ceiling will be replaced with natural wood material. Probably like just natural color wood stains, something natural, like oak color. The color for the house, we picked from historical collection. It's gonna be combination of edgecomb gray, it's on historical, Revere pewter, like accent as an accent. Trim is just gonna be like off-white color. And color of the door, we wanted to do also from the historical collection. I wanted to ask though, if at some point we decide we wanna do different colors, but still from historic collection, will we have to come back to the committee or we can just?
No. Yeah,
But it will be, everything will be from historic collection, except maybe trim, because it's like a light color of white trim.
and the door, sorry, and the front door you're keeping, but you're gonna just replace it. And you don't know what you're gonna do with the front door yet.
So no, we're gonna keep the front door for sure. So as of now, the color of the door is dark gray, also from historical collection. So that's what we're keeping the original door. Storm doors, I don't know, do we have to keep the storm doors?
Those look like the original storm doors on those front doors as well.
So
I don't know if it's,
we'll
yeah, I mean,
keep-
it's a very interesting feature of that house.
Yes, yeah, we love everything about this house, like, we wanna keep everything. It's just unfortunately, there was a lot of carpet and bees around, and it's a lot of damage, so we will, you know, try, we will restore everything as much as we can.
Can we see the piece of slate? Can you show it to us? So this is the original slate that's on the house now. And so the replacement slate that you want to use
It's a shingle.
is a shingle, but it looks like slate. Do you have a sample of that?
It's literally just part, yeah.
Must be so old.
Yeah,
It is.
so, yeah, it's very soft. We can
Use,
show the other one.
but that slate line, the shingles, they kind of look.
Right,
They slate.
Yeah, that's what it does.
Yeah. So we would give us, right now, it's like a gray, so we would, you know, we will pick a gray color. So as an option, we wanna have that piece of state that has.
On the.
No, it's okay.
It's kind of two tones, different because it makes it shapes, right?
Shapes. To be honest, like, we tried to find that shape, we could not. So if we would have to restore, I don't think any way we would be able to keep the two different shapes. We couldn't find it. I don't think anybody makes it right now. So usually like all slate stone, like natural roofs, they all come in like one shape, like rectangular kind of shape. There is no like fish that.
Yeah,
is.
Can you turn it? Is it asphalt? Yeah, it's asphalt shingles. That,
I'm very familiar with that product. Actually, I personally, well, I had a contractor put that very product on a house that we used to have in Middletown 30 years ago. The product's been around a long time. That's a great product. There are now products that aren't even asphalt, that are other materials, including metal, that actually also try to emulate slate. So there are a lot of things you can look at. Unfortunately, none of them are gonna look as good as this. But there are products where you can,
Has the final evaluation been done on the roof that they say it's not replaceable, or they say maybe it's possible that portions of it could be saved, or?
So from how it looks from the attic, there are like, you can see the sky from the attic, like there are pieces missing.
Over.
So the problem-
It's sailed a long time ago.
That roof is, it's like cemented to, the wood. There's no plywood, nothing. It's just wood strips. So we could see the roof from the attic. So as, it looks like it's very old, and slate roofs is like 80, I think years, can last like 80 years the most. So we don't know how old this roof is. But they said because the roof is very steep, we couldn't start to work on the house until we have all the permits and stuff. But they say if we step on it, like once we start, it just may fall apart. So they don't want to be responsible. We haven't tried yet, but they looked from inside of the house, but they can't really evaluate until we officially have permits and we start to work.
So I have just a couple more questions. I'm actually your neighbor. I'm on 65 Wallace Street. When I bought that house in 2007, it reminds me of your house now. And did you close yet, or you?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was the same thing. I had a slate roof. There used to be a slate roof on 65, the corner of Wallace and Mount. And it was disintegrating like you're talking about. I could see through from the attic, through the roof. And I had hopes of saving it. And then I called the roofer over like you're gonna do, and he said it was over, unless I replaced the entire slate roof, and the slate roof 3 times the amount of an asphalt roof. So I went with an asphalt roof. So I appreciate you trying. I completely understand that the slate is probably seen its better days and it's gonna have to go. I do have also the same doors on 65 Wallace, your screen door there. I don't have mine up. So one thing that you could do if you're not in love with it, is they actually come off pretty easily. So I had them restored and they're in my basement. And I held on to them, but if I want, it's nice in the summer to put them on, and you can open up the original door and you're gonna have those doors and they lock, and that might actually work really well. But you can save those, and they can take them off when you want or put them back on when you don't want them. But I do encourage you to restore those and keep those, even if you gotta put them in your basement. And then lastly, I did have some questions about the scallop siding above the roof. Is that staying, or what are we doing with that? That looks somewhat beat up. Is that being restored somehow, or?
So siding, we know some pieces needs to be replaced, but everything's gonna be restored.
Everything could be fixed.
Painted, and whatever wood pieces needs to be replaced, we will replace it. But we're not planning to change siding. Siding's gonna stay.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm very excited for you. And then there is a structure in the back of the house as well. Is that coming down? Is that salvageable, or that's gotta go?
Yeah.
It's a shed.
No,
Yes.
that's not so.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like,
That's getting knocked down,
that's
right?
pretty tough.
That's falling down. Yeah.
And you can't even walk inside.
We will be restoring the windows too, so we're not changing the windows.
Okay,
We'll restore the windows with original, like,
Pulleys,
Strings.
yeah. We'll restore that.
and how about the gutters? What's the plan for the gutter?
I know gutters there right now, so we'll be installing the gutter.
I think
Yeah,
it's,
they're, most of them fell.
Yeah, I think what you'll notice around the neighborhood is that a majority of the historic homes do have some like almost like a round metal down leaders.
Yep.
A little bit wider than your average home where you may come and see a 3-inch or a 4-inch gutter. It's typically a little longer, like 5-inch, but the downspouts are kind of these circular. Sometimes you see them in bronze or whatever color it may be, but I would encourage you to kind of take a look at those for, around the neighborhood and see what you can find with respect to that. I do see an old gutter in one of the older photographs of the home. There's a downspout. I don't know when that was added, but it looks like it's causing some water damage, quite frankly, to the home. But in any event, best of luck with the house. I love the house. I'm a big fan, and I look forward to seeing the renovation.
Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of things we want to ask about the deck on the back. We wanted to add the deck, and so in order for us to do that, we need to add a door in the kitchen area, which is right now is like 71-inch high window. So we basically just
Use the space,
cut
use
it
the
down a
space
little bit.
as the door.
Yes,
Yeah.
use as a door. We wanted to ask if we can do that.
You can do that because, the ordinance in town is primarily looking at the streetscape. And a lot of people have added additions in the back. So
So we
that's not a problem.
So we can do either deck or like if we do patio, that we will confirm with zoning, right? But we
Yes.
are allowed to do that, right?
Yeah.
Need zoning.
And one more question, we're not sure yet, but there is a side door, which I don't know if it's not fully visible, I think from Washington Street, but on the side there is like a door. Looks like it was a small addition built, there's.
On the driveway side or
Washington,
Yes.
Wallace Street side.
on the driveway
The
where the,
backyard.
On the drive.
it shuts out. It's like a bay,
South side of the house, the
right?
back of the house, you cannot see from the Washington.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
The back.
That's
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
South.
Yes, right. That's kind of like in the backyard, isn't it?
This is the back. basically.
Yes, basically it's all the way in the back, but like side of the house,
Yeah,
the right side of the house,
Off the kitchen.
yes.
yeah.
Would it be
That's-
okay
yeah.
too close?
Yeah, no. I think that's fine.
This, the side door.
And that's not visible from the street?
It's, let me see this picture.
Here's a picture.
Maybe easier when you put the door is right over here, so that.
Yeah. And what do you want to do with it?
Close,
just close it off.
Based on the like layout and
So
size.
you're gonna open up a window to make it a door and you're gonna close up this door to do maybe more wall space on the inside or whatever you're gonna do.
Space, yeah.
So they're not removing any egress.
Right.
They're just kind of reconfiguring the way the back.
And you're
Yeah.
gonna put a deck on the back.
Deck on the back, we want
So
to.
Yeah.
this new door, you'll be able
It's
to.
an RJ state.
Yeah.
So with
Is it?
Yeah,
No, like, what's over here? The door will be closed off and there'll be a new door.
Right.
here.
that's,
It's happening.
It's gonna be beautiful.
yeah. So we'll, don't be surprised if you see us walking by, because it's, we walk in this town. We walk.
This is gonna be a beautiful house.
Yeah, yeah, you've got a gem, an unpolished diamond, maybe?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, well, best of luck with it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Has anyone done any kind of fences? That are traditional historical type?
Fences.
Anything like? that?
Fences, like in the backyard?
Yeah. Like wooden type of, not.
Yeah, well, I mean, historically, wood, as opposed to like aluminum kind of thing, again, historic.
Bright white vinyl.
Article,
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah, definitely. Will you have a dog?
No,
Oh,
but it would look nice.
oh, okay. Again, I would encourage you to, now that you own a historic home, to seek them out and use them as models. If you watch any of these HGTV shows, when somebody's doing that, they go and look to see what other people have. Even if it's in another part of the country, just to see how what kind of treatment they've used.
In the olden days, I live around the corner on Wallace as well, but and I've lived there for 60 years. And back in the olden days, people didn't have the high fences. Everyone would maybe have a small picket fence to divide the property so you could still talk to your neighbor. And it was, or a ranch fence. We have an old ranch fence that they used to use when there were still horses around here, and that would just fence in the horses. But you could think of something like that as well. But, for privacy, maybe you want the higher fence now, but, walk around the neighborhood and maybe you'll get some ideas.
Yeah, I would say the only thing that would be a no-go would be the 6-foot white vinyl.
Yeah.
No.
Let's see, and
Right.
district, mostly our white picket.
Yeah, little white pick.
Yeah, like Anthony, like Anthony that was just up here. His house on that corner has, if you want to walk by there, has a
Perfect.
Picket fence.
white picket
That's
fence.
picket vinyl though, I think. Is it? Yeah.
I don't know. About that height and.
That height, the look of it, but.
4 foot or 6?
Or.
No, it's like
So you could
18 inches, it's like it's tight, it's not.
No, yeah, it's just,
Well, and that house is on a corner,
Right.
so
Yeah,
there are ordinances
yeah, I mean, this is all zoning.
of fences on.
on corners.
Stuff.
For your backyard, those would apply.
The other thing would be a hedge, like a laurel hedge or.
Boxwood or,
traditional box.
yeah.
Something like that could be nice.
but, if you like green and it's evergreen, so. And you have to keep it trimmed, so you gotta get yourself a hedge trimmer, so it's up to you.
What would the committee recommend for the driveway? Can you,
Well,
or if we have a.
we are close to the beach. If you didn't want to pave it, you could use oyster shells. You could use pebbles.
Can we pave it?
Yeah,
What's
well,
that?
pave it as brick it. Would be an interesting brick pattern if you walk around the district and see what other people have done. Brick is a popular option.
Bless you.
So as opposed to stamped concrete, I would say.
In the
So,
olden days, most of our neighbors had pebble driveways. That was the traditional driveway back, 50, 100 years ago.
mhm. Yeah, but there's lots of options and it's not a long driveway.
Yeah, would the committee have any problems if we extend the driveway?
Well,
Zoning will.
Zoning.
Right, zoning.
Right.
Yeah.
Extended
Oh.
back further. you mean?
further back.
Yeah, so we could- with
There's
cars.
there's that butt out that prevents that, right, Shona?
The way-
Yes, the width of your driveway as it stands is 10 feet. The bay window that sticks out causes you to have to go in a little bit. And then if you're gonna extend it, you need a 3-foot buffer between your property line and the driveway, which you don't have. So that then triggers your need to go before the zoning board if you're gonna extend it. That's why when I spoke to you, I informed you that if you kept it the exact same width and just replaced the material, we wouldn't run into an issue. But once you extend it, then that's when you need to go before the zoning board.
So we cannot extend it beyond that bay window.
Yeah, just because of the width,
Okay.
yeah,
But
and
can
you
we
don't.
come to a little bit closer to those windows or no? Not
I have to see where the footprint is, where the existing footprint is, because, right, you don't have 13 feet, really. That's really what you need, the width. You need 3 feet from the property line to where the new driveway starts. And right now, I believe it's 10 feet. And it's abutting the property line, so you don't have that. You don't have the space. Okay?
So I have a question for Shawna about that. So isn't there some kind of historic precedent that if it,
No.
no,
No.
if it existed?
Yes, your grandfather did, but that's why
Just the pool.
That's why I said the portion that's already there. They want to extend it to where there was nothing there before. The survey shows that it stops right where the bay windows are.
Okay, so if where they have the driveway now did not meet zoning requirements, that because that was
Fine.
historic,
And then.
but because they, so it's the issue beyond.
Historic, it's just grandfathered and it's already there, so non-conforming condition, and you can do it, you can improve upon it, but you can't expand it. That's when it triggers the
Zoning.
need for you to go before the zoning board.
So this is not their situation, but maybe it is, I don't know. The other side of the house,
That's not their driveway.
but can you ever negotiate an easement with
That's
that person?
between them and their.
No, but I'm just asking you just for my.
Yeah, that's
information.
between, them and their neighbor, and then they'd have to come back, they'd have to give me proof that there's an easement.
To
And
give
then,
them access to their backyard if they want to
Right,
park in the
yes.
backyard.
and then that's when I can say it's fine, but
That's
there's
between them
always-
and their new neighbors.
that's between them and their
Got it.
neighbors, yeah.
That's it. Okay. All right. I guess that's it. So
Are there any recommendations, or are you approving as presented?
I think approving is presented.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think the motion is to approve as presented.
Okay,
Yeah, I think, the ornateness of this house strikes all of us, from the banisters to the scallops, to the slate roof, to the front doors, to
To the,
everything about this house, it's sad to see some of it need to be sacrificed to continue it
Right.
on. So I think that's a little of a pain point, but in general, what you guys are doing, we applaud you for coming before us and working to restore as best as you can this house. So any of these little details, that's what draws us to the house. So please try and don't swap it out and change it on us. And all the banisters are now like these 4x4s, and you get rid of the scalloping, and everything that you promise us goes away. So that's
That's why we love the house.
yeah, so we appreciate that. You appreciate the house. So thank you.
so, yeah, and they're free even if they've gone through the process to come back and ask advice.
yeah, the last point I was gonna make too,
let's turn on.
above your door, you've got that transom window. I don't know what kind of condition it's in, but that is a feature that I personally love to see throughout town, so hopefully you can preserve that. There's even, some frosted kind of things that people put in there, some Victorian style, but there's some nice options there to really help the front door kind of pop a little bit from the house, so.
In a great condition.
It's in great condition? Oh, great. Oh, great too. And then I know there's a bluestone walkway, so, the historic district uses those elements of wood, bluestone, red brick, those types of, those materials, if you want to use the bluestone on the driveway, use the bluestone on the patio in the back, or I don't know if anyone in the district has a brick fence, kind of a brick wall anywhere.
The one on,
It's like, those are the elements that we like to see.
A
And
keystone.
paying attention to the small details of the house. Whether it's the gutters or the doorknobs or, or the windows or, the scallop moldings.
can I just show you this Victorian picket fence option? This is, so you could see there's a little bit more detail on them.
Something like that.
See, you see that? You know how it goes up and down and a little finials on the top?
I was just gonna ask too, if, maybe before you replace the slate roof, maybe have the roofer take some photos of the details of it, so maybe in the future, who knows, 100 years from now, someone else may be able to put the slate back, and it would be nice to have, at least that record of what the original roof looked like.
It is one of my great regrets when I restored 65 was not maintaining the roof. I just couldn't afford it. I had
Over $100,000.
The quote,
No.
2007, when I bought the house, was 60,000, just for the roof to replace the slate. And the roof was the same size as yours, so I can imagine now. It's
No
gotta-
more now.
Yeah, but it is a regret of mine, now that I have the money to be able to do it, I wish I could do it, but, you know, like the roofer said, asphalt, you know. It's a very good product too, so, but, best of luck with it.
So, do they get their pictures back?
No, that's for my record.
Oh, okay.
Do we,
The motion to approve or
Yeah.
deny?
who would like to make a motion?
I thought I did,
Oh, all right.
I did,
as presented.
okay.
Okay,
And I
and
need
a,
a second.
and a second? Okay,
Okay, great. Louis Almarini,
approved.
Marjorie Cavalier,
Approved. Approved.
Liam Collins, Cagno,
Yes,
Karen Schmelzkopf,
Approve.
Anthony Sotero,
Approved.
and Betsy Valera.
Very much.
Thank you, guys.
So the next step, I think, yeah, I don't think you submitted a development permit. This, you just submitted the historic application.
Yes,
So next you'll submit development application.
for construction, right?
So you can get your permits, but you needed to submit the zoning application first.
First.
It's just the historic application you submitted, okay? And that's online. You could have submitted online. But we don't accept payment online, so you have to either mail the check or bring it in to Borough Hall. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Best of luck. Thank you.
That's a great house.
Thing that I would like to ask about, which I thought we had discussed the potential of putting it in the agenda, but the Red Bank Rest building, where the contractor painted the letters on it.
Well,
They have not submitted and they were aware, and a violation was sent out. And they did contact me, well, the architect contacted me. And I told them that the commission was aware of what they're doing and then they need to submit an application to the board, but I have not received anything. So.
Yes, I have one question. In case we have a question about like something.
Email me
Just email.
and then I'll email it to the board.
Okay, okay. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, so that's the situation with that right now.
Okay, what is the process if they don't?
I will ask Frank Woods, who's the inspector, to follow up again, and then if we don't hear anything, then they get a summons to go to court
Okay,
and they answer.
okay.
Another item, so we talked about Riverside Avenue in the last meeting.
Oh,
And I drafted a letter, but then it was kind of intercepted.
Michelle, yeah,
I'm Michelle, and she basically said we don't have any authority to send even an advisory kind of letter like that to a developer.
because
So,
it's not it's not designated as anything.
right, since it's not a historic designated district. So I don't know what our options are, or if I can send it as a private citizen, I suppose, not as a representative of the commission.
Check with her,
Okay,
just,
Yeah, since you're a member, right?
Yeah, it's tough when you're,
yeah, I would check with her, just always seek legal counsel. So if you want to send her like an email on the side to say if you could say something on you as a resident, or if you want to,
I feel like nobody is, or at least I'm not aware of anybody advising the developer on different options, like the reuse and readapting versus tearing down those
right,
Victorian houses and putting up another.
check with her if the boundaries of what you can do as a board member and as a private resident.
Yeah, like if you were just a resident, you wouldn't know who the developer was.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And you would have to just wait until they came before a board and make public comments at whatever meeting. So
Oh, but I mean, I'm
I
based,
know you're trying to be ahead of it. You're trying to be like, hey, let's not get to that. Let's help them out. But that's where you're.
but the information I have is from public,
It's from,
knowledge. It's from a, Red Bank Green article or something. It's not, yeah, I got the developer's name from the newspaper article. It's not,
Right, but they're not, yeah, but it's
Not
for
private.
a board member.
I would just reach out to Michelle.
okay.
Yeah, just send her an email on the side, because she did in her email, it was kind of like, just be very cautious of how you're gonna approach this.
I could not find anything really substantial historically. You know, it seems like they had rentals in there actually pretty early on, because there's some crazy stories. A ton of people died in obviously different houses in there, whatever. Edmund Wilson was trustee at one point to the sale of one of the houses, but that was like the closest I could get to,
Which, the senior or junior?
senior, I believe.
It was part of the old Allen estate, which is one of the
Yes.
early families, I
Yep.
think. And Barbara Pickell, she sent me a postcard from 1913 showing that the whole strip of houses, which is
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we are precluded from offering any suggestions to, let's say, well, first of all, it hasn't come before the zoning board yet.
No,
And the agenda for the zoning board will be published prior to the meeting, so I don't think there's anything precluding us as a board, once the plans are submitted to, if it doesn't come before us, we know it's gonna go to zoning, to send something to zoning. That it does, even though it may not have some great historical significance that we know of yet, other than what you just said, which I think is quite significant. It does certainly have, the roof, the details, and the charm of Red Bank. That the homes aren't these cookie cutter branches that you see in Toms River or Middletown even. They are Red Bank homes, that are, in my opinion, bring character to us. I don't think that Michelle was precluding us. We can get some clarity on that, but I don't think we put this to bed only because Michelle says, we can't do this, can't do that. I think we still can have our voices heard at the appropriate time.
Shauna, is the southernmost house included in the plan? It's all of those from the parking lot to the corner?
I have to double check.
Because I just
I
noticed.
think it's all the way to the corner.
The southernmost house was just recited. Yeah.
I think it is all the way, because I remember, from what I remember from the plans, it may have been like, it wrapped the corner.
Yeah, like,
I have to double check. I have to, the whole project is a mess.
I did have one other thing I wanted to talk about, which was when I found that the Monmouth County inventory list, and I had written to Michelle, and basically her suggestion is, once we get the guidelines in place, that we really need to identify and clarify which properties, especially the overlapping properties with the state, the county, and the town, are actually designated, and to put together an ordinance for council to approve, to then really preserve these properties. And so I just hope that we keep that in mind as we work with Stephen.
Well, know that, I mean, we only have so much money to have him do this stuff. So, but going forward, Shauna could include future budgets to do additional work, just like we've now had to downsize the number of properties that he's going to do the surveys on that we talked about. So, but if we decide that we want to take these additional steps of looking into the overlap and making a more complete list, I'm sure that's something that he could do, but I don't think he could do it under the money that we're paying him now. But it would be a goal. I mean, we could almost have a 5-year goal for the commission of things that we'd like to accomplish. So then you'd be,
About designating them as local sites, or because that you can do on your own. Anyone can make a presentation to the commission to designate these sites.
I was actually just suggesting that we maybe have a subcommittee that would focus in on that once the guidelines are done. So
That's what
like
the-
3 or 4 of us get together and really just
Mhm.
take an afternoon
Okay.
and say, okay, these are
That's what
all the overlap.
committee is for. That's what the committee that Anthony, Karen and
Okay,
Marjorie are on. That's what that committee's for.
well.
That's what I thought, but
Down the road, but right now we're like focusing on the guidelines and
Right.
that done.
no, I mean, the final objective should be, this is what we present to the council. These are the properties that
But
have to be
I mean,
affected under.
from the architectural study or purely the comparison between like state and local?
Well, a combination. So once the guidelines are in place, then we look at all 3 of the state, county and local. And say, okay, these are all the overlapping, this is the
This is
list.
priority.
Yeah, and this has to be.
To do the
protected.
list, we have to do an intense survey and I just don't know that.
But that's what that committee's work, because that's why it's called the Historic Sites Designation / Design Committee,
Right, and so that's what I'm
Design
saying.
Guidelines Committee.
Be aware of that while Steven's working, because if he's limiting the amount of buildings he's looking at to 60 or 70,
Right.
then let's look at the ones that are already designated by the state, the county, and the town and say, okay, these are the ones that he should really be focusing on.
I thought that was an automatic get. That in the master plan, the ones that are designated as state and county and federal have to be just memorialized as ordinances, and I didn't think that we had to do for surveys on those. I thought they were just gonna be
But
bumped
nothing,
up.
the thing is, nothing is protected by ordinance right now. That's why we have to.
Well, I
do
think we
this.
established, I thought she said that they were.
We were
Okay.
talking about creating an ordinance for council for that, though. I'm surprised now that I think about it, that she didn't say it had to, you're right, Marjorie, she made it seem simpler.
Right,
And didn't talk about going through the full designation
yes,
process.
yes, that's my recollection.
National Historic Register.
Yes.
I think specifically, it was what, 6 or so.
Yes,
And-
it's just what's on that one page of the master plan.
Yeah, I think it might have been because it was already recognized somewhere
Right.
as that it didn't need to go through
The proofs,
The-
the presentation, and yeah.
the other hoops.
So I thought that I thought we already handled that part.
Fine, I think we just have to do it.
Yeah,
Well, but like I said, I found that map from 1982 that shows Maple Avenue as designated by the
But-
county. So that
No.
there's things are slipping through the cracks that have to be found and cross-examined and then say, all right, let's make a master list. Otherwise, we keep going around and around in circles and nothing's getting designated and then protected by ordinance.
I think
That's what we have to.
the National Register seemed like the sort of, like you said, the easy ones. It's just the document, the actual codification of those. The others, though, who knows what state, even if they're active county versus whatever else.
Exactly.
That's probably a prioritization exercise. That's the part of the bigger.
Great, okay, so that, I guess that's what I'm asking, is that we prioritize that to make sure that at least in that subcommittee that we're aware of all 3 levels and that Stephen's aware of that as well.
Would it make sense for the subcommittee to include Michelle in a meeting?
I think so, at least one of the.
Because then, in my mind, you can come up with the most cost-effective way to achieve the objective of getting an ordinance over as many properties as possible. Because if, to put it simply, if Stephen can focus on 60 or 70 properties that don't have any ordinance protecting them right now of any sort, right? No national or state designation. If he can focus on those and the state and or national stuff doesn't require any additional work.
But he's already.
Yeah, that wasn't her recommendation, yeah.
I mean, the
It's opposite of what she recommendation.
He's already focusing on the ones that are not designated in some other way that also tell a story of the history of the town, which is focusing on industry and workers and perhaps immigrants situation. So, I just don't want to distract him from the things that we've already agreed on.
Okay.
I'm just worried
Because-
that if the guidelines are gonna focus on the commercial buildings in the town.
Now,
It's gonna focus on the Washington Street, the Broad Street District, and any individual sites that are currently, that's what the design guide, and any future designations. So it's supposed to be residential and commercial, all of it. That's what it's supposed to be. And I just want to say that I did send out the inventory that you mentioned from the county. I sent it out to everyone last year, so everyone should have a copy of it, because I have it in my file.
Oh, I'm from 1982.
Yeah.
Okay. So that has the Maple Avenue map.
Yeah, it has 226 pages.
And that was the same one that I've dug
Yeah.
up randomly and then I think I shot over to a few folks.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
226 pages?
And I think it's double.
Yeah, it's about that thick. I mean, it's all of Monmouth County, so Red Bank's just 4 pages in that document.
Right. And I think Michelle also pointed that out.
Yeah, I think we all have a copy of this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
I can
so
resend it. It's a pretty large document. It's like 200 pages.
Yeah, it's a reference material at the library, so I couldn't check it out.
I'll resend it.
Okay. Shall we move to adjourn?
Yes. Yeah.
I take that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, a vote? All in favor?
Bye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so just remember